Hello, welcome back everybody to this episode of Heresy Hammer. This is the first main show, kind of like the big show of this month of September. We're kind of getting back to normal now. It's been a bit of a whirlwind in the past 2 to 3 months, like from May, June, July, and even a little bit of August. Although I was away a lot of August, it's been pretty nuts. But as everything sort of like calmed down, Games Workshop forgotten about horusheresy. I'm jesting, of course. I'm jesting, but it's interesting. We haven't had any community articles since like some of the like earlier Saturnine ones. Kind of, it's amazing to see how Games Workshop just kind of onto the next one, onto the next one, onto the next one.
That's kind of consistent with their other games,
absolutely,
really, isn't it?
absolutely.
Like,
It's just like it's amazing how.
Onto the next money spinner.
It's just like this furore around around it. It drops, gone, boom, done. On to the next one. I mean, I have no doubt the studio teams would sort of kind of be like, we are working really hard on this. Although
we've had the militia now, we've had the demon.
Yeah, and demons came out, pretty quick. Yeah, and I suspect, what do you reckon? Fellblade on order tomorrow. Do you reckon that will be next?
They did put a post up today, didn't they, on Instagram of big tanks or something? Picture of tanks, I think.
Yeah, I reckon it'll be tomorrow or it will be the week after, because we're recording this on Saturday morning.
Buy more things.
I've already got commissions for Fellblades on like.
I have so much shit sat in boxes. I know I'm still going to buy one. Like a fucking crackhead. Honestly.
In Iron Warriors colours, though.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Yeah. I mean, it's just spray it silver. It's a bit of Agrax Earthshade on it. No problem. Job done.
Yeah.
Anyway, but that is not what Lee's buying and purchasing habits is not what we're talking about today, because we are going to be talking about the new journal. Well, newish because it came out in July time.
5 months
but we're actually going to do a deep dive on the journal today. Now, I think. Initial impressions when I first got it, I said, "Oh, this is quite thin." Gone are the days of the black books, and I think that there was some criticism online about the fact that, number one, Games Workshop had given the mission from the book away as a free PDF.
Yes, and I think that's justifiable.
Yes, I think
you buy something and then they just go, we'll give it out.
Here's it for free. Yeah. I suppose, though, are we guilty of giving away a 7-day free trial on our Patreon, which, by the way, you can access right now? Anyway,
that's smooth.
But also there was some criticism leveled for the fact that there were only kind of 3 units in there: the Augur Squad, the tank, and the Master of Descent. However, having having prepared for this show, and having reading it from cover to cover this morning before coming on, I must say that actually it was quite an enjoyable read. And if you are somebody who is new to the Horus Heresy and don't know what Isstvan 5 is, actually it's a great book for kind of just briefly explaining what all the legions were doing at this time, kind of how a timeline of the Isstvan 5 massacre. I think the problem is with us, like grizzled old veterans, is like we're like so cynical and old. We're like, I know what Ra and Dimian's been doing in the webway. Like, I know like where the Horus Heresy was started. But bear in mind that some of this information is for people who are brand new to the game as well. So I think that there's
still think it adds some new information.
Totally. Like I was like, oh, this is actually quite an enthralling.
We're kind of doing.
This is quite an enthralling read, I thought.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. I went back and looked at what was written in the original Black Book.
Hot damn.
It's actually not that much.
No, interesting.
No, it's actually, I thought there was more in there than
what there actually is.
Than what there actually is. Yeah. Of the actual like Dropsite Massacre, there's probably only 20 odd pages.
Oh, that's
and within that there's kind of, double page spread of maps and but then I would say this is more kind of almost like a story.
Yeah.
Rather than,
this is
each hour
a time. Yeah,
they did this.
I do quite like the each hour.
Or whatever they use.
As you say, the old black books were written, I suppose, in in a more narrative kind of like form, whereas this is is essentially written like a non-fiction book, which is like, this is what happened, this is what happened, this is what happened. Anyway,
I mean, I'd just like to say, like, I say there's not as much. Like, obviously, it's extremely detailed in the original Black Book, but in my head, it was
your specific,
like 100 pages
on
and
on
actually, it's not much
because a lot's dedicated in those Black Books to the actual history of each legion that appears in here, right? As well, and like, you know,
and then you get other stuff from in those bits, but the actual bit that's just about the massacre, it's in my head there was more, but
okay, cool. Well, what we're going to do a deep dive on this one today, and what we are going to give you is a kind of a tread through of the lore, what happens, essentially the hour by hour, blow by blow account of what takes place, and we're then going to have a look at the battlefield assets. We're going to have a look at the mission. We're going to have a look at also the profiles and discuss a few things from there. So this is basically, if you've not had an opportunity to either buy this book or read through it, sit back, relax, put us on in the background, do some hobby, because we're going to take you through what this book actually has. So if you haven't had the time to read it yet, we're going to do the heavy lifting for you. So sit back and relax and do some painting and enjoy. So what's up first, please, Lee? So as we said before, these tactical journals are going to be adding new content. They're going to be coming out periodically. I think people were kind of like, oh, there's going to have to be like one a month to get through every legion. But we haven't had another one drop. Now, I thought that the next one was going to be Saturnine, or is it going to be part 2 of the Isstvan 5 Dropsite Massacre? I don't know. I thought it was Saturnine.
Have we not been? Have they not kind of teased Saturnine?
They have, yeah, that's right. Yeah. But you would have thought that part 2 would be next. But anyway, I suppose that's not the point. If you guys know, let us know in the comments down below, because I was under the impression it was actually Saturnine was next.
I thought it was like 2. HQ Saturnine units.
Yeah. But I guess we'll see. We shall see in due course, but hopefully it'll be out this month, because they're going to have to do it once every other month, I suppose.
I am actually slightly surprised we haven't already seen one, but I don't know. I don't really know. Like you say, to get, unless they do. Well, they did say they were going to do one per legion, didn't they? So
yeah. Well,
even if you're doing one a month, it's still going to take you a year and a half to get through the legions. So.
I wonder whether Saturnine will be on order tomorrow with a fell blade. That's my hunch. That's my feelings in my waters. Anyway, let's have a look at the next slide, because we've gone through all these bits and pieces already. So essentially, the book is aimed for people who are new or want information refresh. That's how I would review this book. Like, if you are a grizzled veteran, as we were saying, and have been playing or reading Horus Heresy for like 18 years or playing it for 13 years, lots of this will not be new information, or the general thrust of it will not be new.
Yeah.
But the specifics of it, there is quite a lot of cool kind of like information. Like the stuff, like we'll get into it in a bit, but there's some great moments where basically like the commanders of the Retribution fleet and the savants on Terra are kind of like analyzing the battle plans to take on the War Master, and they're kind of like, we can't actually do it. Like, no matter how we try and kind of like coordinate it and whatever battle plan we use, we can't actually do it. And Ferris is like, the only way we can do it is just smashing headlong into the enemy and doing it that way. And there's some great moments in the book like that, which had a lot of flavor to the overall kind of like arc of Isstvan 5, but I didn't know or understand or appreciate. It does give a chronological account, as we said, kind of like a timeline of the event, and it starts at 399 hours before the drop, and then from there, that's obviously hour 0, and then is plus from there. It doesn't. There's not 399 entries though. There's not.
No.
There's a lot of moving through space till we get to hour 0.
Hour 398.
Yeah.
Still flying through space.
But what I would say is that this book does cover the traitors, the second drop, where the traitors kind of like launch the ambush on the loyalists. So whether the Isstvan 5 Dropsite Massacre Part 2 will actually cover kind of like the aftermath, where like Korax is running around, like bands of like salamanders and iron hands are kind of like running around on the planet, and whether it'll be like, well,
Yeah.
much more like skirmish based, trying to capture these things. I don't know, but this book I thought initially had only covered the first drop, but actually it covers, the chronology does cover both drops, although the mission doesn't. Right, let's have a look what comes next. So the book also discusses most of, if not all of the other legions and what they were doing. So we find out like the Blood Angels, what they've been doing. They're in, Cygnus, what the White Scars have been doing on Chondax, I think it was. The Dark Angels are on the Shield Worlds, and they're too far to be recalled to the Retribution fleet. And then the
Yeah.
Space Wolves are basically kind of like recovering post Prospero, so they're essentially not able to fight. And then it gives some nuggets of information about the Sons of Horus, which they've essentially been funneling, which we knew from the novels, funneling advanced weapons like the Sakaar and the Sabers to themselves and their allies. And that's something that is a theme of the Black Library books, the Black Library books, but the Black Library novels, which is that with his logistical might, Horus has basically been funneling like new suits of armor and
Yeah.
like all the latest war gear to the new legions, in preparation for his ultimate betrayal. So we kind of get a sense of that as well with each of the legions, which is pretty cool.
I do like the fact that they do this because it is literally like one page, isn't it? Or like page and a
Hmm.
half. But if
Yeah,
you are new to the heresy, this is such a perfect way of just
yeah,
because someone might be like, well, why aren't the Dark Angels just
yeah,
picking fucking to everyone? It's
yeah.
like, well, actually, because they're not
Yeah, they're
here.
too far, right? Yeah.
So yeah, if you are new to the heresy, yeah, it's a nice little touch just to give you a little, just to build a bit of a picture of what's going on outside of
Yeah.
Isstvan. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's good.
100%. And I often like with Dark Angels, a good example. I was literally about to fall in the trap to be like, oh yeah, they were fighting on Thramas, but they're not fighting on Thramas yet, are they?
No,
Because the Night Lords are actually at Isstvan 5, so the Night Lords
no,
haven't gone to
they're
stop them at Thramas. So
fighting all the nasty aliens on the
yeah,
outskirts
yeah,
of
of the rims. Yeah, so
yes.
yeah, that's pretty cool. So if you want to find out what your legion's been up to and triangulate with other legions, you can find out here. Again, this is like the earliest part of the heresy, right? Like the heresy has been revealed, but this is very, very early on in the
Yeah.
in the arc. Right, so let's get into the timeline. So essentially, the section starts with details of the forces and who would commit their forces to the Urgal depression. Now, this was really interesting, and the section that kind of like this describes is kind of in a, there we go, and we had similar in the original Black Books as well, and this was also a hallmark of something within like the Siege of Chthonian campaign, where it essentially gave you a table with the forces.
Yeah.
I had not realised the scale of the massacre between the Raven Guard and the Salamanders. I knew that they were completely and utterly fucked. I hadn't realised to what percentage fucked that they were. But there's a few interesting bits here. So just a few standout bits. So I hadn't realised that in terms of the Urgal region initial quota in the first wave, there were only 10,000 Iron Hands deployed.
Right.
Which was really interesting. I knew that Ferris had gone with essentially his first company, but I hadn't
Yeah.
realised that like more Iron Hands hadn't been dropped. It was only 10,000, and they were essentially leading the kind of like the spear tip kind of like assault, and then the this doesn't come up in this book, but then the Iron Hands are unable to make the rest of the drop once the massacre has occurred. But the Salamanders Legion, 83,000 legionaries were deployed, so essentially the entire legion, and then the Raven Guard, 79,000 legionaries were deployed. And again, that's like basically the entire legion. In terms of the Sons of Horus, they were estimated at 150,000, or in excess of that, which is pretty outrageous. Like they've got a lot. They are like a big legion. And then in terms of
Yeah.
the casualties statistics, essentially between 90 and 95% of that first wave of each of those legions were killed. And Ferrus Manus obviously loses his head in that campaign, and then Corex manages to kind of like scuttle away, but Vulcan is, spoiler alert, is captured by the traitors. So it's absolutely devastating. However, what I will say is that the Isstvan system campaign as a whole was massively devastating on the traitors as well. So we don't have too many numbers for the like the Word Bearers and the Iron Warriors and Alpha Legion. But for example, in the Isstvan campaign, Isstvan 3 and Isstvan 5, they lost, Sons of Horus lost up to 60,000 legionaries. Death Guard lost 25,000, World Eaters lost 35,000, and the Emperor's Children lost 50,000 legionaries just in that campaign. Like, this was a massively, like, every legion that fought there, with the exception of like the second wave, appears to have just hemorrhaged legionaries. I suppose that's the thing about legionary on legionary warfare, is just absolutely savage.
It does a really good job in the bits that I read of essentially like literally within the first kind of stages of the initial drop, they've basically run out of ammunition straight away.
It's awesome.
Strangling each other.
And what I hadn't realized, like, and it says that chainsaws are essentially overheating,
getting choked up, and
within seconds because of the frantic nature of the battle, that basically just smashing each other in the heads.
Legionnaire versus Legionnaire.
Yeah, but what I mean, just to say though, there were other forces fighting on Isstvan 5, which I hadn't realised. So there were Titan forces, which I did know, but there are some Legion auxiliary forces, and the way that the book describes it is that they were, all of these forces were so horrified by what they saw that they basically just stood there and couldn't do anything, and essentially were just human shields. It was the traitors that employed them, but they were nothing more than just shields to slightly hamper and slow down the
I also like the way they are essentially like they're there not because of any loyalty, but because whoever was in control of them was like, you're going to stand there. You stand there and fight these people.
And loads of the auxilia were just like, I don't know why I'm fighting against this. Like, why are there legionaries coming at me? I've not been told what's going on. But the ones that did know what was going on fought a little bit harder, the way that the book describes it. But yeah, absolutely amazing. And incredible to see the devastation when you consider because in my head, a legion kind of consisted of maybe 100,000, but like these numbers far surpass.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be honest, I always take the numbers with a pinch of salt. I know in the original Black Books, it was always kind of like, the original Black Books were kind of written from almost like it's Warhammer 40,000, but someone's looking back talking about the horusheresy is how they've always been kind of described. So the numbers kind of didn't really have to add up, because it's a bit like if we talk about, I don't know, if we talk about a battle in the year like 100 in
like
Britain,
the Battle of Cannae between Hannibal.
No one really has a fucking clue. It's just a calculated guess, isn't it? You know what I mean? So I feel like when we talk about these numbers, actually, I mean, this feels very more like it's a fact. This was this many dudes. But previously, it was always a bit like there was this many dudes. We think. Because I feel like if you added all the numbers up at the end of the heresy, like each legion was like 15 million dudes. Like, and I know they had the inducti and they started pumping dudes out, but
it does go to, I suppose, when I was reading this, I was like, this is why they did need to flash indoctrinate a lot of.
Because they were
hemorrhaging guys in.
I mean, you take Isstvan 3 and then the casualties of Isstvan 5, like you've already. Like the traitors are already gone. Like they're already
they've lost a lot of Marines.
Like so I always take these numbers with a pinch of salt, but it's good to give an idea. Like I guess the trouble with numbers is it's difficult to picture, isn't it? Like if you read about a battle, like I was reading, I can't remember what it was, about a Napoleonic battle, and the casualties for the British was like 5,000, and you think, oh, that's a lot. But then if you got 5,000 people to stand in a field, you'd be like, holy fuck,
that's a lot of people.
You know, so when you say like 150,000 guys, it's your brain struggles to imagine what that would look like. But that's basically like the whole of Cambridge.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Just just wiped out. Yeah. Anyway,
gone.
well,
So, yeah.
okay, cool. Well, let's get into the chronology of it, just to give you some numbers there. And actually, just before actually we get into the chronology, there's a great picture in the book. However, one criticism I do, because I was like, I'm trying to work out where these this Umber sector is, the Malleus sector, and the Ignis sector is. I was like, why can't I see it on here? And it's because it's in between the fold, and the words have just completely gone. So
okay.
just my piece of advice to the studio team or the art team, which
Yeah.
is just don't have words in the center of a book.
Yeah.
But this gives a great kind of like 3D representation. Before in the black books, we had a bird's eye view of the of it. But here we got like a 3D map, which I really like. Like more of this kind of thing would be absolutely amazing within these books. Like these completely like get me rock hard.
Yeah, to be honest, the original map, although cool, it doesn't really show a lot.
No. I think this is better because it also shows like, so you can see the volcano there that essentially the traitors kind of like fortified. And you can see the red zones are where initial bombardments were the loyalists, the 3 loyalist legions kind of like hit.
So actually, looking at the original map, it makes a lot more sense now. I can look at the kind of 3D one.
And then you've got these 3 sectors, so the Ignis sector, the Malleus sector, and the Umbra sector. So the Ignis sector, of course, was essentially the drive of the Salamanders. The Malleus sector was the drive of the Iron Hands, and the Umbra was the drive of the of Corax and his legion. But just to say as well that it was Ferrus Manus who had kind of overall control. Essentially, for the Retribution fleet, was the strategic commander for it. So he made the decision to kind of go in. Go in early and do this spear tip strike against the traitors and try to take as many Sons of Horus down as he possibly could. But yeah, a good map and good to get a sense and idea of how the you can see these domes as well. The domes are shields, so they just can't be hit straight from orbit. But they did try to attack those concentrations. Right, okay, cool. Let's actually get into it. So, the chronology of the massacre. So, as the Loyalist fleets mobilise, Hidden Alpha Legion augurs detect their movements, relay hidden signals to the Warmaster to move ships out of the way to ensure the Loyalists have a clean approach. Only the Imperial Fists find themselves becalmed and unable to make headway, though some question if Daunts deployed late to allow for uncertainties to be revealed, to be committed. So at
I like that.
399
that's
hours.
Not something that's been mentioned before.
No, not at all. And actually, in this period as well, they do talk about they kind of go to the strategic court on Terror, and like they're trying to analyze it and kind of be like, can we actually win this battle like with the assets that we've got? You know, that kind of thing, which is quite cool. The first Raven Guard ship enters the system unopposed and gains the first confirmed sightings of the funeral pyre that is Isstvan 3. Now, this ship, they do go into quite a lot of detail about it.
Yeah, it's cool. I like this.
It's essentially one of the most like augmented and fastest and stealthiest ships in the entire Imperial fleet. Like, it's specifically a Raven Guard fleet, but it essentially does the first lot of reconnaissance, but they do go into it in some detail. The Gorgon solidifies the plan at hours 242 for a single overwhelming strike after formulating countless plans that all end in a traitor victory. So it's interesting that basically all the Primarchs, all the Loyalist Primarchs basically offer their suggestions about how we can fight, and all the Savants and Terror are also creating these battle plans. Yeah, we'll come in from the side, we'll hit them in an awful, a surrounding flanking maneuver or whatever. And somebody suggested, I have no doubt it was probably Vulcan, a subterranean assault. And basically every single one of those plans, they couldn't win. So the only plan that would work was essentially like a full-on spear tip headed straight towards particularly the Sons of Horus. It was essentially to take the head off the.
And again, this is a slight change, isn't it? Because originally it was just the Gorgon was like fucking revenge.
Yeah. I think he was motivated by this, but I think that they've given him more motivations than just. They've made him a more of a complex character. I think.
Less of a dickhead who just ran blindly into his death.
Yes.
Which makes sense.
Yeah. So at minus 98 hours, Horus receives confirmation the Loyalist fleet will soon arrive. The Urgot oppression is ready. Hundreds of square kilometers of fortified mine and treacherous killing ground around a titanic fortress. Now, we will get to the fortified and mined elements in a bit when we get to the strategic assets of this book, because these do play an important role. But what I would say is that, of course, if you are fortifying an area, mines and things like that are going to be an important aspect of it. And the salamanders soon find out as they trudge through mines headed towards the Death Guard. Low altitude sorties of Raven Guard strike at outlying positions, taking air defences offline. So at 0 hours, and 0 hours is the commencement of the first bombardment, destroying large amounts of the outer defences, but the inner voids still hold. So those bubbles on those the pictures that we had previously, those are the inner voids, so they're not able to make their way through. At 0.02 hours, the ground shakes once more as thousands of Deathstorm drop pods land fractionally ahead of the normal drop pod wave, which I thought was pretty cool. And kind of just hammers the traitors with loads of shrapnel, which is cool. And at 0.05 hours,
this is something that I would be cool for a Legions Imperialis game.
But yeah,
you know,
so
like
awesome,
massive
that would be
Deathstorm
great.
and drop pods and whatnot.
Yeah. Ferris himself lands and drives forward. The overwhelming firepower holds traitors in their bunkers, and the fighting becomes brutal and up close. Within minutes, weapons jam and primary arrow runs out, leaving both sides with no option but to engage at close range. And this is exactly what Lee was saying. Basically, the frantic nature of this battle just means that they are hemorrhaging ammo just like you cannot believe, and they essentially just run out of ammo within seconds. And
I mean, to be fair, if you look at the picture of the World Eater we have on the screen, he has one magazine on his bolter and no additional spare magazines. And the size of a bolt round means there's probably about 5 bullets in that magazine. So it probably didn't take him long to run out.
And hurl himself then at the enemy. But and then it talks about how these chainsaws are getting clogged.
Yeah, I do like it. It talks about how we said like they overheat, and then the teeth are just getting like
clogged up
with flesh and gore, and and they're just kind of knives and fists, like real medieval within minutes.
0.7 hours. So still, this is within the first hour of the engagement. The flanking Raven Guard are boxed into mountain passes by World Eaters and take heavy casualties amongst the rocks falls, but achieve their goal of diverting a large number of traitor forces away from the main engagement. So the way that the book also describes this, so you've got Ferrus Manus kind of driving up the middle, just going through waves of infantry. You've got we'll talk about the salamanders in a bit, but the salamanders essentially have to go through a number of minefields and head towards the Death Guard, and you've got these two remorseless legions sort of battering against each other. But the Raven Guard played much more of a cat and mouse. It was much more about going backwards and forwards. It wasn't the grind of the attritional warfare in the centre that Malleus was the spear tip of the Malleus and Ferrus Manus. It was much more kind of like going backwards and forwards, and much more cat and mouse in the way that it describes it. So even on the same battlefield, you've got different types of battles going on.
Yeah.
Cool. Let's have a look next. So at 0.7 hours, Vulcan leads a mass infantry assault across open ground, finding themselves in a Death Guard minefield. Leading from the front with Saturnine troops, they cross ground that should be impassable to assault, but the Death Guard remains stalwart. As the Salamanders advance, the silhouette of Dios Irae looms over the field before it too is forced to withdraw under sustained Salamander firepower. So that was all within the first hour. So pretty frantic. We've got orbital bombardments. We've got Loyalist landing, and then we've got the first assaults. At 1.1 hours from above the depression is a swirling sea of power armor amongst the black sands. Requests for orbital bombardments are denied, lest they hit their own and be accused of treachery. So this is something that goes into, which is that the Loyalist ships above, basically the Loyalists and those Augur command squads are calling down for orbital bombardments, but the Loyalist ship above actually say, it's too close to you. We don't know whether we can get it exact, and we don't want to be accused of being traitors, so we're not going to do it. So they were unsupported in the air, despite the fact that the Loyalists were calling down for orbital bombardments. At 1.23 hours, the Loyalist assault is close to a position where it could break the lines and hit the stronghold itself. In response, the traitor Primarchs take to the field at the front of a massive traitor counter-assault. So the reserves at this point come out, and that includes like Abaddon with the Justarian, and essentially kind of the traitor lines are buckling. And then the Loyalist the traitor Primarchs, all four of them come out at this point. I think with the exception of Horus Lupercal, I think Abaddon, I think, is basically standing in for him. Hidden minefields behind the lines explode and concealed interdiction cadres surface amidst the loyalists preparing to sell their lives at the highest cost that they can. And we'll get to the interdiction cadres a little bit later, because that is a unit that you can now take.
Look at this picture. That's such a classic.
So good. So 2.2 hours in, only Ferris continues to advance. Vulcan and Korax are forced to dig in, lacking the men or armaments to maintain their advance, and tens of thousands have died. And even if Horus surrendered then and there, the damage to the interior Imperium would be insurmountable. And that just goes to show you how devastating a battle this ultimately was. I cannot express to you how just completely fucked the loyalist legions are at this point, like particularly the Salamanders and the Raven Guard. I mean, the Ferrus Manus is only fighting with 10,000 men. Yeah, they are the elite Averni clans of his force, but the Salamanders legions and the Raven Guard are completely obliterated by this point. At 3.4 hours in, the sky is filled with loyalist reinforcements as 4 more legions arrive, which includes the Night Lords, the Iron Hands, the Alpha Legion, and the Word Bearers.
Oh no!
Oh no! Bringing fresh warriors and weaponry, they will surely restart the offensive and bring the traitors to justice. Deploying near the other loyalists, their arrival is a welcome relief. So essentially, these guys deploy behind and on the sides of the Urgal Depression. But it describes the Iron Warriors going on one of the flanks. The Raven Guard fall back towards the ranks of the Silent Word Bearers, and this comes up in the book. So I think it's the first heretic. I think this comes up. So the Raven Guard fall back towards the Word Bearers, and the Salamanders withdraw with their wounded towards the Night Lord's lines. Ferrus spies Fulgrim amongst the fray, beckoning him into combat. So you can start to see what's happening here. So the Raven Guard fall back towards the Word Bearers. The Night Lords, the Salamanders fall back towards the Night Lords, but the Ferrus Manus and his men continue straight on because they see Fulgrim.
It's time to upgrade your battlefield with Sacris Mundus terrain. Sacris Mundus sculpt breathtakingly detailed and varied terrain that will bring your games of horusheresy to life. From the ruined cities of Armoria to the jungle vestiges of Lintrath, Sacris Mundus design immersive battlefields for any type of tabletop wargaming experience you desire. Find their extensive terrain collections online right now.
A 3.91. It's weird how it's done at 3.91 hours, because it really throws me that we've got like a a single red flare launches from atop Horus's bastion, turning the sky blood red. At the prearranged signal, 100,000 bolters roar across the Urgal Depression as 4 legions open fire on their unsuspecting brothers. And remember, this is not like a whole legion falling back now. Like, these 2 legions have been devastated, and then they're being hit by the other four legions. And there's a really cool element within this book that describes the Iron Warriors coming down. So they basically come down, but as they are coming down, kind of like trench lines are being created, like armored fortresses are being created from the sky, and it kind of like, it's all like and then kind of like lands all together to create like a fortified bastion.
So there's and
then they're just hammering the loyalists from the side of the Urgal Depression. It's awesome.
There's a really cool bit in one of the Horus Heresy novels where the Iron Warrior rhinos all kind of link together and bits come out and form temporary bastions, and it's so you can imagine
it's the one where he's
like
beating up Angron, isn't it? It's that one where he goes to capture
I can't remember.
Angron.
Probably but it's cool.
The loyalists, tired and in need of relief, find themselves caught in a crossfire of renewed traitor assault and the betrayal of their brothers. There is no need to aim, as the tightly packed loyalists are easy targets, with a few isolated exceptions are totally and utterly destroyed. Meanwhile, Ferrus Manus loses the fight between Fulgrim and himself, and the Age of Darkness has truly begun. That is literally a sentence from this book as well.
Nice. I like it. That's cool as fuck.
Yeah, it's really good. And then basically they just kind of talk about the mop-up operation. So like a good example of it would be the Alpha Legion but basically the Alpha Legion gather as much war gear in other people's panoply as possible. Right. So like they try and take all the Iron Hinds and Salamanders and Raven Guard war gear, but they're also taking dead legionaries, but also living legionaries as well. Kind of like carrying them away and stuff. So yeah, there's a great kind of like summary and roundup of what kind of occurs. Now we just give you a very condensed kind of like timeline there. It does go into an awful lot of detail, so it's definitely worth reading if you are into the Isstvan 5. We want to know a bit more about it. But let's have a look at the mission. So there is a mission where you can play kind of like the first wave, and it is literally called the first wave. So it's a bit of a weird because the timeline goes through kind of like the entirety of the Isstvan 5 massacre, but the mission itself is just the first wave. So I'll be interested to see how they do the second book and what that kind of covers. But it's essentially called a legendary mission. It's in the campaign book, and it recreates the first contact between the loyalists and the traitors. You're basically fighting over 4 objective markers, and each objective marker is worth 4 points. The loyalists must score the objective markers, but the traitors get 2 VP for every unit that is killed on the battlefield. And then the way that it works is in the attackers deployment 1, so the loyalist deployment 1, that's where all of the infantry units will go, and their dreads and walkers and cavalry. And then deployment 2, that's where all their range kind of like tanks will go, and it specifically says you must put your tanks in this deployment zone 2 in order to represent kind of like the field of battle, which is pretty cool. It's just pretty cool. I mean, you could meet with some friends for a weekend's gaming, play out this mission, and I think it would be really really cool to do over the course of a day, right? I don't think it probably is massively balanced, because I think it's going to be easier to kill and get 2 VPs for every unit you kill.
That's the point, isn't it?
But of course, the Isstvan 5 massacre was not a balanced affair.
I think this would be awesome to have 3 tables set up.
Yeah.
In the middle, you have Iron Warriors versus whatever it is, Sons of Horus. On the right, you have the Raven Guard. On the left, you have the Salamanders. So you could have the whole...
Yeah, Malleus, kind of... Ignis, and Umbra. It'd be really cool.
That'd be pretty cool.
Yeah, I'd love that. So that's the mission. It's fine. You've probably already seen it because it's a free PDF download. But yeah, it's straightforward.
It's what it is, isn't it?
Yeah. However, these things are really interesting. Now, I'd be interested to get your thoughts, because we haven't actually spoken about Battlefield assets, but we have been dreaming of potential next Patreon giveaways. But when I had read the rules for these, I was like, man, it would be so cool if you did an event that was like 2,500 points, and then you get 5 points of Battlefield assets. So you can encourage people to kind of like create their own little minefields. Like these are, it says in the book, they're basically created with Games Workshop stuff, but they're placed on 60mm bases, so they're fairly large, and you put them down when you're kind of like setting up the table and stuff. And like a minefield I think it says it has to be like 6 inches away from your battle lines. And I don't know, I think they add something cool, and I like the fact that they're not points, and they're kind of like you have 5 assets or 5 battlefield assets, and each asset is worth a different amount of points. So you could have like we'll see the points in a minute, but like 2 minefields and one thing that's one battlefield asset as well. And I think it's a good modeling opportunity as well.
I love the idea of these. I think, like you say, it's a cool modeling opportunity.
Yeah.
I want to build my own table. I've already kind of got half of it done. And the way the terrain rules have changed now is, the way I read it is, you don't have to make everything dangerous terrain.
Yeah.
So I was going to do kind of like minefields and have them as dangerous terrain. But this is another way of
introducing
it. And I think it's fucking brilliant. I think it's really kind of fluffy. There's it's cool. I like it a lot.
It's really, really cool. So these will make for strong additions to narrative missions. I think the thing is, though, if you are going to an event it's described as a narrative event, I can't see any reason why you wouldn't use these. And it'd be great to see these just as the standard, just because I think they add a little bit of flavour. Perhaps not at this such an early stage where we're just getting used to the game, but I think maybe in like 6 months' time, that'd be pretty cool. Can we just go? Sorry, just back one.
Oh, sorry.
Essentially, the number of points that you have will determine the number of assets you get. But for all, the reason why I say 5 is because most of us are going to be playing games between 1,500 and 3,500 at events, all with mates. So you get 5 asset points. Most assets are represented between a 40 and 60 mil marker. and it doesn't block movement or line of sight. So you can walk over it, but usually something happens if you're within like 6 inches of it. We'll have a look at that in a second. And different assets have different traits and also different costs as well. For instance, the minefield trait cannot be deployed within 6 inches of another minefield, or the explosive trait can be destroyed if it is hit by a blast weapon. So blast weapon just knocks it, then it's just like, oh, that's gone. Yeah, and it's good because they're not worth points, right? But they could be quite a little bit of a nuisance for players, which I suppose a minefield would be a little bit of a nuisance, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's have a look at what each one does. So we've got the disruption emitter. Now, it's interesting because they do have like attacker and defender ones here, but I think if you're doing an event, you just have to make them like neutral across the board. And that's probably the easiest way to go. So the disruption emitter is the most expensive one, and basically a unit within 6 inches of it is 3 points, and it reduces the leadership, cool, intelligence, and willpower by 1 if you're within 6 inches of it, which is great. Like that's really cool, but it's quite expensive.
Really good. It is expensive, but if you're running something that's high in fear and stuff already,
it'd be perfect, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
But yeah, then they've got a melter minefield. Which is cost 2. It's any vehicles and walkers within 6 inches, rolls a number of dice equal to their starting wounds or hull points. Every result of a 1 inflicts a strength 9 AP2 damage to hit. So the fact that
cool.
it's not like a automatic thing. Like often you have to check for these things, and it's a roll of a 1. It inflicts it, right? So you still got if you got a contemptor, you're likely to do 1. The likelihood is you'll get 1. You'll be really unlucky to suffer very unlucky to suffer like more than 3 in one roll.
Welcome to my world.
Grav snares. So any unit is 1 point. Any unit that moves or charges within 6 inches rolls a number of dice equal to models in range.
1 point.
If any ones are rolled, the unit is pinned. Yeah, it's pretty savage.
That's huge.
That one's huge.
Any unit. I guess that affects tanks as well. Any unit.
Yeah, it seems so. It seems so.
So you could have 5 graviton snare minefields and just dot them across the table. I fucking hell, yeah, that's huge. But they can also. Oh no, that doesn't have explosive, so you can't even blow it up.
Yeah, but it's on a roll of a 1. That model triggers a snare in the unit. Yeah, okay, yeah, but I mean, yeah,
you only
it's
need
interesting,
1.
but it's pretty common. Only need 1. Yeah, frag minefield. If a unit ends a model within 6 inches, roll a dice for each model in range. For each 1 rolled, place a small blast marker with strength 5, AP5, and damage 1. Contingency device is 2. If the owner fails a panic check during the fight subphase within 3 inches, they may make an initiative test to activate. Every model within 6 inches of the device suffers a strength 7, AP4, damage 2, breaching 5 up, and shred 6 plus hit. This one's great because it's like you're already like panicking and fleeing, and then something like it kind of explodes next to you.
I like this one because I read the rules and I was like, okay, every model, and then I read contingency device, and I was like, okay, yeah, that's quite cool, actually. This has all gone wrong.
Yeah, it's great. Forward ammunition. This one I think is straightforward, but I think it will be popular. So if a unit within 3 inches makes a shooting attack, they may use the asset, a single weapon type, all the bolters that is strength. So basically, a single weapon type that is strength 5 or less and isn't heavy ordnance, blast, or template may add +1 to it, add 1 to its firepower. So basically, bolters are just going to become firepower. Yeah, there's going to be like if you can imagine that as well with Fury of the Legion. Like there's a lot of shots from bolters. That's pretty good. I do think that one. I think if you roll a 1. After the shooting attack has been resolved, the control and power of the unit making the shooting attack rolls 1 dice on a 4+. That forward ammunition drop marker is removed from the battlefield. So I think some of these can disappear.
I don't hate that. Roll. You've used up all the ammunition and now it's gone. Yeah, that's cool.
Strategic cogitator. So this is just 1. I thought this one was quite good actually. So a model with the command subtype that ends its move within 3 inches of the asset may roll a dice. If the result is higher than the current turn, the value of one of the secondary objectives may be increased by 1.
Okay.
So if it's like Slay the Warlord, you can be like, I'll increase that by 1.
Yeah, that's good for 1
Which
point.
I thought was
that's pretty good. Yeah,
thought it was good. Yeah, if you can get 5 of these on the table, that would be pretty good. So I think they had a lot of flavour, and it would be good to see events kind of play around with these. But I think It'll be great at modelling opportunity. If you run out of things to paint, which I think is pretty rare, or model, then you can make some strategic assets, and I think that'd be really, really cool. Right, let's have a look at what else is in this book. So already you can kind of see, you're just like, there's actually a fair amount. Once you
scrape the surface, And to be honest, I mean, I wasn't really expecting more than 2 or 3 units in these books.
Yeah.
I'm not really sure what, like...
How
At no point was I
jam-packed.
thinking, "Oh, we're going to get like 6 units in this."
Yeah,
Like,
yeah. No, it's
but,
kind of it's actually having read it, it's exceeded my expectations of what I initially thought. So we have done, haven't we, over on the Patreon, a deep dive into the Master of Descent in our larger deep dive into the command options. But we'll briefly just go through the Master of Descent, which is a key character within the Isstvan 5 Dropsite Massacre book. Now, I think some people thought that this might be a way to unlock more than one orbital, like more than one drop pod to come down. It cannot do that. So it's a command choice. It costs 115 points. He comes with a standard jump pack Centurion stat line, but has 1 less attack and 1 more intelligence, and can take any options from the Legion Officer War Gear list as well. So he's fairly flexible. He comes with a Stratovox, and this means that any reserve tests for his unit are automatically passed. And that's also from turn 1, isn't it? Actually, that one.
So he can come down turn 1 with his unit.
Yeah. And once he's on the board, he can make other units auto pass reserve rolls, but that unit must be deep striking. So that, I think the other thing to say is, and we discussed this as well, he doesn't have to like start off the board. He could just start on the board and then from turn 2 get things coming in automatically with deep strike. So particularly valuable if you were thinking and considering deep strike. His tip of the spear rule allows him and any anti-grav units he joins the deep strike from turn 1, as we said. And then finally, he also unlocks a unique auxiliary detachment, which is Planet Full Spear Tip. So this is quite a good one, I think, if you wanted access to veteran assault squads and Praetorian command squads with jump packs. When I was writing a list, and we'll go through the list that I've written using kind of this guy a little bit later, but I was like, oh man, those 2 elites are actually prime slots. Like I can get a logistical advantage in there, and like that makes it super flexible. And if you were planning on taking lots of jump packs, like this is a decent option. So yeah, worked really, really nicely. So yeah, he's a bit interesting character. We go into in more detail in our kind of our Patreon overview and how it can be used. But I've done a list at the end of this episode, so we can have a quick discussion about that in a bit. And then we've got this command. Augur Command and Control Squad, which I think is going to be a popular choice if you're an Ultramarines player, because it does give you access to, or potentially gives you access to, a free reaction. So these guys can be made from the new Rapier kits, and it specifically says make these guys from the Rapier kits. They're a squad of 4. They have 2 wounds apiece, but they've got the support unit 2 rule. And they are also a retinue. So I found it quite difficult this morning to actually plug them into my list, but just by virtue of the fact that they are a retinue. But this unit is responsible for handling and processing incoming battlefield data and logistics. And it's actually these guys that were like, drop the orbital strike. And the plane, the ships above were like, no, we can't. So they're 8 points, and you get 4 legionaries, and they each have 2 wounds apiece. Now they can score, but I think the number of points that they can score is completely reduced. Because they've got a support unit. And they're armed with bolters and bolt pistols, and World Model can take a special weapon as well. So they have the battlefield coordinators rule. This rule means that once per turn, when a unit within 18 inches makes a reaction, the Augur team may make an intelligence test check, and that's on a test of 8. And if it's passed, the reaction costs 1 less point than normal. So it's basically giving you potentially a free reaction, right? So if there's like a Overwatch or a return fire, you can be like, oh, okay, I'll do the check. On a check of an 8, he it's then a free reaction, so you still have one of your actions. So I think this will be a popular choice for Ultramarines, just by virtue of the fact that the whole shebang is about more reactions. The roll is at -1 if the 2 units have line of sight to each other as well, which is quite useful. So then essentially you would need a 9. Now, what I did have a look at this morning is whether you can add a centurion to these guys and give him the cyber familiar and do the check on a whatever. I think it's
Yeah,
+2. I
yeah.
think a centurion is intelligence 8, and then it's +2 to that as well. So with a centurion attached with a cyber familiar, you'd almost kind of like guaranteed to get this off, especially if you've got line of sight as well. I did double check it. The rules say for command you can basically use his characteristics when making any check.
Right.
Somebody might want to query that one, but I think it's totally legit for looking for the command rules and the way things can be attached as well. So that might be an option, but it's just quite a lot of points just for like a free reaction.
That is the trouble, isn't it? It is a lot of points, and you
Yeah.
have to be within 18 inches. I like the idea. If you have a unit that you know you're always going to be using reactions on,
Yeah.
then I think this makes sense.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I feel like Sod's Law, they will always be just out of range of the unit that you decide needs to make a reaction.
Use them. I think the thing is, if you are going, I think for me, this is if you're going backline shooting heavy, with heavy sport squads and rapiers and things like that, it does make sense probably to spend the 80 points on this, keep them hidden away, but within those 18 inches, because really those heavy sport squads are not going to be moving much, and then you can just get a cheeky like return fire reaction out of it.
And I mean reactions, because you only get 3 now.
Well,
if you have a
if you've
high
got Master of
command.
the Legion,
They are powerful. Like
Yeah.
they are, you get through
Yeah.
them quickly. Like
Yeah.
it's I read this and I was like meh,
yeah,
and then I kind of thought about it and I was
Yeah.
like, you know what? For 80 points, getting
Yeah.
a reaction back each turn, that's
Yeah.
pretty good.
That's good. And like for Ultramarines who already get an additional reaction anyway, like you get another one on top of that as well. I think it's nice. This it could be quite valuable.
Yeah.
Particularly, I think if you've got lots of infantry, I think this is where it will probably come into its own. And we'll talk about that in a bit because I've done an infantry heavy list for this one. So yeah, I think this has got play. I'm not so keen on the knee pads on the actual
No, I
models
wouldn't
themselves.
use these models, but also like if you're running a rapiers, you probably want the crew with the rapiers.
That's the problem, isn't it? Yeah.
And also, you can't put a special weapon on a rapier crew. So I feel like you may as well just make your own little squad, like buy some bits or something. But
agreed. Yeah, completely agreed.
Yeah,
and
I
I
like
think a few helmetless heads or something like that. A few
Yeah.
voxes on them, and then you got your commands vox, like you got your command and control squad, right? So
Yeah.
all good, cool. Right, let's have a look at the final one, which is the Hyperios missile tank. I can't see people taking loads of these ones.
No, I can't.
But basically, it's just like a normal Rhino. It's got 5 hull points. It's ballistics. It's got 4, and then you can take. It's got 2 pintle-mounted bolters and a turret-mounted Hyperios missile launcher. So it's range 48. It's 3 shots. It's range strength 7. It's AP3 and damage 2. It's also got Skyfire and rapid tracking as well. So it could do some damage against some. Flyers and things like that, but I think it's probably unlikely that you're gonna take this, although it does look pretty cool, is what I would say, and a good alternative to a Scorpius missile tank. I think if you want something that's got a slightly different
So the only thing I don't like about these is if you take the tarantula, if you want like dedicated anti-air, I would just take the tarantulas.
Yeah.
Because if someone's, and correct me if I'm wrong, if someone's bringing a flyer on, it pretty much all happens in their turn.
Yeah.
So you're going to have to use a reaction to fire this.
Yeah.
Whereas if you take the tarantulas, they come with the automated fire protocols, so
That's
you
right,
don't actually use a reaction to fire them.
Yeah.
So obviously this is way more survivable than a tarantula battery, but a tarantula battery is half the price.
And
so
it's expendable, and then this will give up victory points if somebody wants to take it down.
So
early.
I like the idea of this. It's cool. It looks fucking cool. Like, I like the idea that they're giving us units that's basically a bit of a kit bash.
Yeah, it's cool.
But I would still take
Stick with
the
the
tarantulas over these, if I'm totally honest.
Yeah, tarantulas are like dirt cheap as well. They're absolutely dirt cheap. So yeah, and they're annoying.
Well,
they're like little
I mean,
wasps.
with a Hyperios, it's 60 points.
Yeah, 60
per
points
sentry
piece,
gun. So you'd get 2 for the price of this.
Piece, yeah.
But then this has more hull points. This has 5. But again, if this gets like
I think the thing
pinned
is,
or anything, status checked, like it's doing nothing. I would probably stick with tarantula, but I also do like this. I think it's cool. It looks
cool option, but yeah, I agree with Lee. Stick with the tarantula. Right, let's have a look at the final part, which is the interdiction cadre. So I was speaking to Mark, who's coming on tonight to talk Raven Guard with us. I'm hoping he might tell us a bit more about his plan on this one. But this is really fruity, the interdiction cadre. So it represents those units that lay hidden under the ground, awaiting the enemy's arrival to ambush their advance. And this comes up within the narrative of the Isstvan 5, as the loyalists are trying to like scarper, then the interdictions like cadres kind of like come out and ambush them. So it is a prime advantage, but it can only be taken on tactical or despoiler units, and then they also gain the expendable one, so you can feel like an iron warrior. But they also get the concealed positions reaction. So this is a movement reaction, but it's going to cost one of your points as well. So the first model in the unit is placed anywhere on the board, not in your opponent's deployment zone that is within 6 inches. So if an opponent moves within, if an opponent moves, then these guys can just spring up. So the first model in the unit is placed anywhere on the board, not in your opponent's deployment zone that is within 6 inches of the enemy model that trigger the reaction, but at least 5 inches from any enemy model. The rest of the squad is then deployed within 6 inches of the first model and at least 5 inches any enemy. So there's always got to be a 5-inch buffer between the interdiction cadre kind of like springing out. And then the unit that came on from reserve may immediately make a shooting attack or a charge against the unit that triggered the reaction, but resolve them as snapshots or a disordered charge as well. So it kind of like appears out of nowhere, which is pretty cool. I like it a lot. But like a despoiler squad wants to be charging, it can charge, but you're going to need to roll a 5 on those 2 dice to be able to get in at the very least, because it's disordered charge. You can't do a setup move, and then you're hitting on 5s if you're a attack squad. If it's a 20-man attack squad though, it could be pretty scary.
With a battlefield asset nearby, giving them an extra shot.
yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, I hadn't considered that. So something to consider. It's 1 point. But yeah, I think it's a pretty cool option, I think. But I don't think it's like game changing. It's not broken, but it could be interesting, I think, this one.
Yeah, I like it. I think the fact that it's snapshots and disordered charges takes a lot of the sting out of it. I think the trouble is you don't get a volley attack. Your opponent gets a volley attack. But you're going to have to roll a 5 on your charge. I guess you roll 2 dice, don't you?
Dice,
pick the highest.
But
that's the biggest thing with this is the disordered charge. But I do like it. I like the idea of it. It's pretty cool.
I mean,
especially
the benefit of, if you can make that charge, what I think is good, because just to go back a second, the trigger for this is that somebody ends their movement, and then you're like, surprise. It's not like you have to put like a marker down. That's not how it works. You just go, somebody ends their movement and I am going to appear out of nowhere, but I've got to be 5 inches away. Now, where I think this does work, and probably would work quite well, is a Tat squad finishes its movement on on objective. And then the despoiler squad springs out.
Your 20-man despoiler squad.
Literally. And then it's like, make sure you're 5 inches away. They can't react because it's their turn. And then you go, I'm just going to wing and a prayer it. I'm going to see if I can get in. And I'm going to see, because the moment that I'm in that combat with you.
Or you don't even have to charge. You just, you're not scoring this objective this turn. My 20-man tack squad is now bigger than your squad, and I now hold this objective.
And it's also like, just bear in mind, it's out of sequence like shooting and out of sequence charging. Like it's done in their turn, the shooting and the charging. It's not like done in your turn. So it completely messes with the sequence of the game, which I think is pretty cool. But it could, particularly for those objectives that are worth like 3 VP in the middle, like that despoiler squad getting into that tax squad could really, really mess with their day. It's a good one.
No, this was another one that I read it and I was like, meh, because immediately I was like, oh wow, you could have like heavy flamer squad or something, and then I was like, and then I was like, oh no, it's tackle despoiler, and then I was a bit like, oh, snapshot disordered. I was like, no, whatever. It's pretty cool. And then you start thinking about it, and you're like, you can now deny this person scoring. And let's face it, the way that vehicles move and you can move out of vehicles, it's quite easy to be scoring midfield objectives turn one.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, surprise!
Yeah.
Like
The other thing I would definitely consider for this, if you want to keep your unit small, you could do a attack squad, but give the sergeant a combi grav, or a combi flamer, and then because those won't snap shoot, or at least like the flamer won't snap shoot, and see if you can cause a panic check. I mean, that would be...
You just wouldn't be able to shoot it, would you?
No, because there's no interaction between snapshots and flamers anymore. That's not.
Oh,
that's
really?
not.
So you can
flamer
just
shoots it. So you might be able to cause them to run off the objective as soon as they've come.
To do it, isn't it? Yeah. Fuck yeah.
So I think that this has got some play. I think so. Yeah, it's interesting. Cool. Okay. Well, let's have a. I think we're just gonna finish off with my list. Yeah. So I've tried to make a list with a couple of things. This is something that I've definitely been playing around with, and it's a little bit I will try and talk through it, but basically it is a legal list, and I will try and talk through it. And it includes some of the units that we've got as well. So I've started with it's Ultramarines list. It's 2,980 points. I've started with the Praetor, and he's got a Paragon Blade. And I didn't really want to take a Praetor, but I have included him for the extra reaction. Ultramarines, of course. And he is going to rock around with a Despoiler squad with 5 power mores in there, and they are going to be in a Spartan. Okay, so that's my closest one of my close combat units.
Like it.
Okay, and the Spartan has been unlocked by the Despoiler squad through logistical advantage. Yeah. I have got continuing in the primary detachment. I've got Centurion, and he's got a Cyber Familiar. You're going to see where I'm going to go with this one in a bit. And then I've got a Master of Signals as well, and I've also got a Master of Descent in there. And my Master of Descent, of course, comes with all those rules, but he's also got a Thunder Hammer. But I've also given him Paragon of Battle, so he's got Weapon Skill 6 now as well. So he's a bit of a beast, bit of a close combat monster with that Thunder Hammer. In terms of the rest of my primary, I've got 2 tac squads just with Nuncios, and they're going to go in Rhinos, and then I've got a 15-man tac squad, which is just going to kind of roll around. Now, it's unfortunate actually, like having done that Interdiction cadre, because I've unlocked the Spartan with a logistical advantage, but I could have given a tac squad a Interdiction cadre, which would be nice, but I didn't have the prime slots to be able to do it. So my Centurion has unlocked a support. My Master of Descent has unlocked the planetful spear tip, which has got my Praetorian command squad in, and there's 8 guys in there. There's 1 banner, and there's 6 lightning claws, and then 1 thunder hammer as well. And my plan is for the Master of Descent to be attached to that Praetorian command squad, and then they will come in first turn, hopefully hidden behind a building so I can't get hit. But they'll be hidden behind a building. Once they deep strike, they can't do anything. Like they can't charge. They can shoot, but really, they're not. Most of them got lightning claws, so they're not going to be shooting. But within that detachment, I've also taken a 5-man veteran assault squad. These guys, of course, have Vanguard 3. But these will be quite nice to give like Vanguard 1 to, right? Oh, sorry, line 1 to with my Master of Signals and things like that. So just having that little squad in there to go bully tactical units, I think would be pretty useful. And it's just part of that detachment, the planetful detachment, which I think is quite flexible, because that veteran assault squad also is a prime slot. And it's also unlocking. I'm going to unlock an Augur command squad with my logistical advantage using that. So I've got an Augur command squad there, and they're going to be in the back lines, that Augur command squad, and I'm going to attach my Centurion to it. So they're just going to get hidden. They're going to use his Cyber Familiar and make their intelligence essentially a 10. It's -2 to the check, but essentially it's a 10 for argument's sake. And then I've got a few other support options here. So with my Centurion and my Master of Signals, I've opened up 3 support slots or tactical support slots, and basically I've just filled it with loads of shooting. So I've got a 10-man autocannon squad. I've got a 3-man Gravis Heavy Rapier squad. I've got a I've got a laser destroyer, 3-man laser destroyer squad, and then a 2-man graviton cannon squad as well. So lots of firepower, lots of infantry, a fair amount of scoring, some vanguard in there, and then Master of Signals can give like line or vanguard to my Praetorian command squad as well at will, which I think would be pretty cool. And I think I've got more kind of like command slots than I need. Like I've got plenty of auxiliary detachments to be able to play around with there. So the list is fine. But yeah, so that's my list, and I thought it was a pretty cool list, and probably is actually going to be something that I try fairly soonish because I've got.
So, sorry, how many points was this?
2,980 points.
Okay, yeah, that's
yeah.
I like it a lot.
So I've got some like anti-tank in there from the laser destroyers and from the Spartan. I've got
always
of,
wanted
like,
to run
statuses.
like 20 despoiler in a Spartan. I don't know why. Like I just love the idea because Spartans are always like Terminators or Elite Unit. I just love the idea
amazing.
of having a bunch of dickheads in it.
Yeah, and I've actually got 20 despoilers as well, so it works perfectly. So this would be quite a fun list to play, I think. I'm not sure how well it would do. I mean, the idea that, I quite like that it's deep striking first turn, just because it gives me a bit of flexibility, and it can deep strike onto an objective, that Praetorian command squad, if it needs to. The worry is, of course, is being intercepted, but it does give you a little bit of flexibility, which I
take it the Master of Signal doesn't have to have line of sight to be able to do his thing.
No. He just literally switches it on.
That's cool. Yeah, I like it.
So I think this could be a fun little list to play with, and definitely something that I would like to give a go. I don't think it's going to be winning any tournaments anytime soon.
No. But it's not all about winning, Robert.
No, absolutely not. And just to say, just on this list, I've actually just copied and pasted the heavy support autocannon squad and the rate. So if you're wondering, he's got 2 heavy autocannon squads.
Oh yes,
it's just that's just a repeat essentially. So a cool, I think something that could be a lot of fun. Anyway, let's finish up. And final thoughts. So. For £16 or whatever it was it £16? I think it was.
Something like that. Yeah.
Do you think it's worth it?
Games Workshop. I think it was cheaper if you buy it elsewhere.
Do you think it's
worth
it?
I was very much like you. Initially, I was like underwhelmed, and then when I started reading the fluff, I was like, you know what? I'd buy this book just for the fluff. Like it's actually really good. I thought it was going to be a really watered down version of the old Black Books. I thought it would just kind of briefly describe the Dropsite massacre and kind of, vaguely talk about this, that, and the other. But it is basically the complete opposite of that. I think it is definitely worth the value. Personally, I would say, 16 quid, what can you get for 16 quid nowadays? I mean, Games Workshop isn't actually really renowned for being particularly cheap.
No.
Something like this, I like it a lot. Yeah, it's only got, I guess my only gripe would be just having one mission. It would have been nice to have a couple of missions,
I think that's I think one of my criticisms overall of the horusheresy at this moment in time, which is that the missions, they're all scoring, and there's only 3 of them
boring,
in the book.
Isn't it? Yeah.
I'd like a kill point mission, and I'd like a table quarters control mission or something like that.
I guess the Defenders does have a kill point.
Element to it.
But it would have been nice to just kind of you've told us all about this stuff that happens. You've got the initial drop, you've got the initial assault, you've got the falling back. It would have been cool to have a mission that represents, the initial drop. The initial assault, the falling back. You talk about these things, but there's literally just one kind of fairly generic mission. So that would be my only bugbear. I don't think it would have taken much more work just to put 3 or 4 missions in here. But other than that, I think excellent job.
Yeah, I think they've done a good job. It's been fun reading through it, and actually I've got loads of new ideas for units and how I
started reading about the Raven Guard doing the reconnaissance, and I was stop fucking reading. Stop reading.
You've always got Raven Guard tickling your balls.
Fucking love them. Yeah.
Cool. Right. So let's finish off there just to say final thank yous. So just a big thank you to our Heresy Hammer Patreons who provide us with support month on month and get extra shows at month on month as well. But particularly thank you to our Heresy Hammer Praetors, our top tier Patreons, who we do rewards for every 6 months. And if you like the show and want to go and support us, then please consider for as little as £4 a month supporting us via Patreon. And just a final few bits and pieces from me. So don't forget to subscribe and like. Don't forget to leave a comment as well. I suppose, I think it's easy to bash the book because it's relatively thin. And it's not what we're used to in terms of if you're an old guard veteran, they are very different. However, if you enjoyed this episode and you kind of a bit like, you know what, actually, I'm going to give this book a second chance, or I'm going to read through it and see what it says as a result of this show, then do please let us know in your thoughts and comments down below. We'd be really interested to hear it. If you guys think, no, it's way overvalued and 16 quid is not worth it and they shouldn't have given the mission for free, then also let us know as well. But construct your feedback, with some thought behind it, and at least give us a thoughtful answer rather than just you hate Games Workshop. Don't forget to follow us on Instagram. You can listen to this episode on Spotify as well. When I hop off this call with Lee, I shall get straight onto editing and get it straight onto Spotify today as well. Don't forget as well, we've got a community show coming up. So if you've got any lists you want us to review, not that we're experts at this moment in time, but if you want us to review lists, I tell you what, like just going off topic here, reviewing lists I found quite hard because I actually think the game is relatively quite balanced now, and also when I suspect when we review lists, we will need to do a little bit of research because often they're like puzzle pieces lists, aren't they? That go together. You can't just be like, oh, add this thing here, because often adding this thing here will often require you to rethink the command structure of your actual list. So we will have to do a little bit of research before we look at your list. And then don't forget. So yeah,
I've said it 1,000 times before, but if you do submit a list, please tell us how you plan to run that list.
Yes, that'd be great. Yeah,
because we end up just guessing, well, I guess this guy will go with this unit, but we don't really know. So send us a list and then also just a paragraph just saying like this dude will go with this squad, this guy will go with this squad, and these will do this and these will do that. Yeah. Because then we know your thought process that has gone into making that list.
100%. And then also, if you go to the link tree on our Instagram page, then you can go and check out our WhatsApp community groups, where we've got loads of community groups. They're pinging off constantly, loads of ideas, loads of rules questions. I put a rules question in this morning just to clarify the Centurion Cyber Familiar Augur Squad thing as well. And somebody got back to me, which is good, fairly quickly. So anyway, guys, thanks ever so much for watching. We hope you enjoyed this episode today, and we're recording. Well, I'm recording with Mark tonight to do Raven Guard, and then Giles tomorrow to do a deep dive on Death Guard. But then I've got another recording with Lee, I think later in the week. It must be a Patreon show. I think it's going to be the movement phase, like understanding and getting the most out of the movement phase.
I best go learn the movement phase.
So anyway, guys, thanks ever so much for watching, and we shall see you on the next one.
Cheers, guys.